I'm Jacinta. Welcome back to my channel, Past That Plant. It's a very cold, rainy and gloomy day. It's also been 1 month since I chopped and propped my Philodendron Pink Princess. Let's have a look at how the mother plant is regrowing and of course how the propagations are rooting. First, let's have a look at the mother plant. I took the cutting from here and you can see there is 2 very clear growth points. Each of these will grow into branches, not just single leaves. These 2 new branches will really help the plant to bush out even more. My only regret is I didn't cut off more of my philodendron. You can see I'm using a branch as support and the plant is already the same height as my support pole here. I am in Australia and it's currently autumn, so growth will slow down over the coming months, but once it's spring again, I will probably take another big cutting of this plant. As well as the new growth at the top, my philodendron has pushed out so many gorgeous new super pink leaves in the last month. These are some of my favorites. These leaves are new as well with the gorgeous pink variegation. As I always say, even if your propagations fail, the mother plant will love you from a chop and prop, so don't be scared to cut your plants. Now let's have a look at the propagations. I took 4 cuttings of my Pink Princess and I have them all in the same vessel. I am happy to say that they have all rooted and quite a few of them have started growing new foliage as well. So there is new branches and leaves growing on this one. Just a mess of new roots. And if you remember when I took the cutting, there was one leaf which hadn't unfurled. It has now. And there's new leaves growing. Now let's have a look at the gorgeous fuchsia roots. So you can see this one has lots of roots and also some new growth there. This was at the very top of the cutting, so you can see the new leaf unfurled and there is another one growing. And lots of lovely roots. The 4th one, again gorgeous fuchsia roots and a new growth point coming there. So all 4 are rooting beautifully. And it has been exactly 1 month. I took these cuttings in March and it is now April, which is of course autumn in Australia. Over the past month I haven't changed the water, which is why it's a little bit funky. I've just been topping it up as needed with fresh water to make sure all of the roots are submerged. I know some people say to top it up every day or every few days. I'm not one of those people. I don't think that's necessary, and these roots don't think it's necessary either. That is it for the 1 month check-in of my gorgeous Philodendron Pink Princess chop and prop. I'm going to put the mother plant back in her spot and I will see you at the next growth check-in. Bye. Today we are going to chop and prop my Philodendron Pink Princess. This isn't the first time I have cut up my Pink Princess. I did it exactly a year ago. I'm going to chop her for a few reasons. Firstly, it is March, so it is now autumn in Australia, which means I need to do all my repotting, replanting, chop and propping in this season before winter. I also added this branch stake in December and she has already outgrown it. Instead of trying to find a bigger branch, I'm just going to chop her. The plant is getting quite top heavy now, and I prefer a more bushy plant. This plant is super easy to propagate. You just need some sharp shears. I use these Japanese ones. They're very, very sharp. You just need to take cuttings anywhere where you've got these little nodes. These will turn into roots when you pop them in water, or you can also propagate straight into a potting mix, but I love water propagation because you can watch the roots grow. I'm going to start by just chopping this whole branch off, and then I will cut it into smaller sections. So let's do it. I'm now going to cut this cutting into smaller cuttings of about 2 leaves, except for this top one, which I may leave as a 3. And the reason why you don't want to try and propagate this whole section at once is because there is so much foliage, and the plant's energy is going to go towards keeping the leaves alive and not growing new roots, which will end poorly, and you'll end up with a dead cutting. Whenever you take cuttings of a plant, 2 or 3 leaves is best. Okay, so I'm going to take my first smaller cutting, and I'm just going to cut below these nodes. See these little bumps? Those are the nodes, so we'll cut just below those. So I have my nodes there. There's also some here, so I could take another cutting, but I think 3 is good. So next cutting of 2, again, we're just going to go below these nodes. 2. Okay, so I have 4 cuttings now. I'm now going to do some more chopping. So I've got better sizes. So I'm going to chop below here and above this point, because we only really need the nodes in the water. We don't need all this stem. I'm going to chop off this section up here because the new growth will come from in here, in between where the leaf meets the stem. So this will just be hanging there and doing nothing, so we don't really need that. No growth will come from this section or from down here, so let's trim them off. Same again for this section. I'm just going to cut off the excess. I hope no one gets triggered by saying this, but it does look a bit like a massacre or a crime scene, just with all the purple, pink, red droplets. But I have 4 full cuttings, and then I have some stem, 4 chunks of stem I will just dispose of. I could probably propagate this as there's nodes on it, but it's just a stem, and I've got 4 beautiful cuttings, so there is no need to save every little piece of your plant you cut off. The same with the foliage that I'm going to trim. I could technically try and propagate some of the foliage depending on where I cut it, but I don't feel like you have to save every little scrap of a plant. You are allowed to propagate, you're allowed to prune, you're allowed to shape, you're allowed to throw out. And I am too, so no one come for me in the comments. I'm not going to put these cuttings straight into water. I'm going to let them callus first for a few hours, and then later today I'll pop them in water. I like to let them callus first because you can see that these cuttings are very wet and raw. I like them to dry a little bit first, and I find that helps to stop rot. So if you've tried to propagate before and your cuttings have rotted in the water, this may save them. You can see here where the sap from the cutting has dripped down onto the leaf. This is one of the ones I was going to cut off anyway, which is lucky because 1, I don't have to clean it, and 2, it did save my carpet. So just be wary if you are chopping and propping the Pink Princess that you may dye your carpet or your clothes. It did wipe right off my table though. I'm going to cut off this leaf and another yellowing one here. You can also see here the beautiful branching that has happened since I cut it last time. 1, 2, that was the right leaf. And I think that is it for the mother plant. I'm going to pop her back in her spot and I'll be back soon when my cuttings have calloused to show you what they look like and pop them in water. It has been a few hours and you can see the cuttings have all calloused beautifully, so they're ready to pop in water. I am going to put them on the same vessel together. Now this is optional, but I'm just going to dip each of the ends in a little bit of rooting hormone before I put them in the water. I'm just going to toss around to make sure they all sit in properly and that the nodes for each one are submerged. And then add some more water. Okay, so all my nodes are under the water. And there we have it. I do find philodendrons are quite slow to root, but it'll be warm for a few more months yet, so I'm hoping I'll start to see roots before winter. But that's it for today, so thanks for watching. Bye.